Hi, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville, and really thrilled to host a series of Kibbitzing with Kagan episodes with each of the Democratic candidates for governor. With me today is Ashwani Jain. Ashwani, thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Of course. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So I'm going to kick you off with 1 minute telling us anything about your background and why you're running for governor. And then I've got about 1 million questions, but you may begin and I'm setting a timer.
Absolutely. All right. So my name is Ashwani Jain. I'm a 32-year-old son of immigrants who's been lucky enough to beat cancer and go from a Make-A-Wish kid to a Make-A-Wish ambassador, go from a Title I elementary school to later earn 2 bachelor's and 1 master's degree. I've been able to work in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, and also work with President Obama and then Vice President Biden in their White House and 2 federal agencies. And I'm now a candidate for Maryland governor, really hoping to make our politics more inclusive and accessible and really empower people, no matter who they are, where they're from, or even when they are from, to have a real seat at the table.
Fantastic. All right. So really quick questions, and we're going to do categories. So the first category is childhood. Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Montgomery County, specifically at Shady Grove Hospital.
Excellent. And did you have a pet?
Growing up, we had a couple pet birds and a couple fish, but now I have a 6-year-old dog who's just my best friend.
Nice. What kind of dog and what is his or her name?
He is a golden doodle. His name is Google, hashtag Google the Doodle. He still acts like a baby.
That's awesome. Were you a good student when you were young?
Fortunately, I was. My parents were, really focused on higher education and just doing well in school. So I was always a straight A student, always on the principal's list and honor roll.
Good for you. What was your favorite TV show as a kid?
Ooh, probably as a kid, it was probably Power Rangers or Rugrats, one of the two.
Okay. No disrespect, but that totally shows your age. What was, when you were a child, what was your earliest career fantasy?
So actually growing up, I always wanted to go into the family business. My parents were small business owners. And so they really made it a family business. My sister and I would always go with them to the office. And I thought that was what I was going to do full time growing up.
Okay. So no astronaut or ballerina here for you. Okay.
I think, yeah.
All right. Tell us about a mentor when you were young.
If I can, I would probably say my grandfather. He's still my mentor to this day. My mom's father, my maternal grandfather. He's just a world of wisdom. He's kind of my spiritual mentor, my personal mentor, always has my back and always knows what he's talking about.
That's great. Where does he live and how often do you get to see him?
So he lives with my uncle and his family in Kansas, Kansas City, Kansas. And so I try to go there and visit him at least once or twice a year.
Nice. Nice. We're going to shift to hobbies.
All right.
What is your favorite sport to play or watch?
So I actually suck at sports, which is why I actually got into magic. But, I'll watch a little bit of everything if I'm with my friends. Probably football and basketball are the most common ones. And if this counts as a sport, the only thing that I actually physically do is skiing. I'm a big skier, love skiing.
That totally counts. Cross country or downhill?
Downhill.
Okay. So do another moment on magic.
Yeah. So I actually got involved in magic when I was 13 years old and diagnosed and treated for a type of cancer. And going through that experience, I was sitting in a hospital room with 8 other kids, and a doctor took time out of his lunch break every day to show us some card magic. And I remember in that moment, everything just kind of disappeared. We forgot that we had cancer, that we were in the hospital, but then he had to go back to work. And so I said, okay, I want to replicate that feeling with the other kids around me. So I started picking up and learning some magic tricks, and I've been performing charity magic shows ever since.
That's so great. Did you pick up any new hobbies during COVID?
I would say not any new hobbies, but I've been able to go more hiking with my dog, been able to watch a lot more movies and TV shows, and just being able to Zoom and catch up with friends and family in a way that I don't think we all had an opportunity or chance to before.
Yeah, true that. Yeah. Other than this podcast of Kibbitzing with Kagan, do you have a favorite podcast?
Ooh, I'm a big fan of The Office, the TV show, the American version of The Office. And so two of the characters do a podcast. I'm forgetting the exact name of it, but that's probably one of my most entertaining ones because it's not dealing with anything serious and it's just a lot of fun.
So John Krasinski, I think that's his name or something close to that. His Some Good News during COVID was fantastic.
Oh man, it was
made me
amazing.
laugh, made me cry.
Yep.
Is there a TV show that you've binged recently?
Ooh, I'm rewatching Friends. That's another, great show. And then I'm currently catching up on Stranger Things because the new season's about to come out. So it's a fun show.
Okay. We're going to pivot to the arts.
All right.
What is your favorite genre of music?
I like to listen to a little bit of everything, but I would probably say hip hop / rap is probably my go-to.
Okay. Is there a favorite song that serves as kind of your anthem to inspire you, energize you, or lift you up?
Yeah, I would say there's a song called Underdog by Alicia Keys. The whole message, the vibe, the tune, everything about it is definitely something I try to listen to every day.
Kind of works in your campaign, right?
Exactly, right?
That's perfect. What is your favorite venue to enjoy the arts?
Well, when we're talking about movies, obviously the movie theater experience, I'm a big movie guy, so that's definitely go to. But if I'm able to go to an actual, theater to see a play, obviously with COVID, I haven't been able to do that in a while. But yeah, I'm looking forward to resuming that, as things continue to open up.
Let's hope it's very soon.
Exactly.
So I used to have a radio show on Broadway musicals, Curtain Call with Cheryl Kagan. Do you have a few, up to 5 favorite Broadway musicals you want to share?
Lion King, I would say, has got to be the all-time favorite. It's just everything about it. It's amazing. I've seen it. I've been fortunate enough to see it a couple times.
Nice.
And then Phantom of the Opera. I think that was the first Broadway show I ever saw with my family, and it just blew my mind. And I was like, "What am I watching?" And it was a real theatrical experience in person. Yeah, those are the only 2 that come to mind immediately.
Perfect. That's great. Is there a book that has had a meaningful impact on your life?
I mean, not to sound too cliche, but Barack Obama's Dreams of My Father, I think, was the first book that I really, really got into. And I could see a lot of similarities with my own family growing up. And I was obviously very inspired by him as an individual and him as a politician. And I was just coming of age. And I think that book really hit a lot of heartstrings with me.
Nice, nice. We are pivoting to personal. What is the biggest risk you've ever taken in your life?
I feel like just in general, getting involved in politics full time probably is pretty risky, especially growing up as, an Asian American, a South Asian American. Going in politics, at least when I got involved, was not very common.
Right.
And there were a lot of family members of mine who were a lot more traditional. And they said, if you're not going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or even go into the family business full time, you're a failure. And you're not really doing anything with your life. And fortunately, my family, my parents were always very supportive and encouraged me, saying, hey, if you're passionate about this, and if you think that this is your best way to give back to your community, get involved and we'll support you and we'll help you. So I would say that's probably the riskiest thing. But luckily it's been one of the most rewarding experiences as well.
That's fantastic. Have you ever broken a bone? And if so, how?
I have fortunately never broken a bone. I've gone through a lot of surgeries and stuff for other medical issues, but no, never broken a bone.
Okay. What is your favorite technology? Your favorite gadget?
My phone, my iPhone. This is, this is something that I live with. I live by. I anytime I'm away from my phone, even for a couple minutes, just my whole life kind of shakes. It's very strange how addicted I get.
Yes.
Even if I don't do anything with it, I just for some reason need to have it close by.
Sure. Security blanket.
Yeah.
Do you speak any language other than English?
I do. I speak a little bit of Hindi and a little bit of Punjabi, which is what my parents speak. And at home we speak English, but obviously growing up, we're very well versed in all of them.
Great. What is the first car you ever owned, and how old were you when you got it?
Oh, um, well, I didn't own a car by myself until probably the last couple of years, and it's a Jeep Wrangler. But the first car that I drove was something that my parents, I got to use my parents' car. I think it was a Toyota Camry, like red. Yeah,
Right,
red
right.
Toyota Camry. It was really reliable. It was awesome.
That was great. Um, Tell us about a first crush or first love.
Oh, wow. Uh, that's a good one. Um, I mean, so I would say probably my first celebrity crush was probably Beyonce.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I still have a crush on her. She's a queen. But yeah, I would probably say her, or in person. I do remember my second grade teacher. She was my English teacher, and I just, I was just, I couldn't get enough of talking to her, and she was super kind, super nice. I don't know if that was a crush or not, but I do remember. I think I loved her.
That's awesome. That's great. What is something important that you learned from one of your parents that you kind of carry with you each day?
uh, Empathy and humbleness and hard work. I know those are three things.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where they taught me from a very early age, just being immigrants themselves, understanding the value of being in a community that has given us so much. And they've always tried to instill those values, and not only myself, but also my younger sister.
Great. How old is your sister? How much
Uh,
younger than you?
yeah, she's 27.
Okay,
She's about 4 years younger than me.
nice. All right. We are shifting. The next category is at home.
Okay.
What is your favorite junk food?
Ooh, I try my best to eat healthy, but I would probably say Oreos. It's not really a food; it's more of a snack. But
It's totally a
anything,
food.
anything Oreo related, I'm a sucker for it.
Okay. Have you tried all the flavors? Are you interested in them, or are you a traditionalist?
I am a traditionalist. I have tried and dabbled in a few of the other many flavors that they've had, but the traditional Oreo is just, you can't go wrong with it.
I kind of go with you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, on the flip side, what is your least favorite food? What is something you just won't eat?
Well, I'm a vegetarian. My whole family is, so never tried, and definitely won't try eating meat.
Is there a vegetable that you don't care for?
I'm not a fan of bananas.
Bananas.
I don't like the texture.
Okay, ironically, that's that's gonna be my lunch after we're done. All right. What is a dish that you cook really well?
I can make a mean bowl of cereal. Just a fantastic bowl of cereal.
Amazing.
But it's a little controversial because I believe you have to put the milk in first and then add the cereal. I've been told that that's controversial, even though it's the right way to do it.
Wow. I think
Yeah.
that needs to be something you take on the campaign trail and debate about. Not so sure. What is your least favorite household chore?
I love cleaning. Cleaning actually is one of my stress relievers. I love to vacuum, love to like Lysol wipe everything.
Come on over.
Yeah, I'll come over. Yeah. So I mean, if I had to pick, probably cleaning the bathroom specifically. But other than that, I love cleaning.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
My roommates in college loved it.
I bet. So, God forbid, Ashwani, your house is on fire.
Mhm.
Other than people and pets, what would you seek to rescue before you get out of the house?
Ooh. I would probably say one of the biggest things is my maternal grandmother's rosary beads. She used to pray with these every day. She passed away a couple of years ago, but they're very special to me. It keeps me close to her. And then probably this. This is let's see if you can kind of see it. This is the last hospital bracelet from when I was officially cancer free, and I keep this with me all the time. So I would probably say those two things.
That's amazing. That's really beautiful. All right. Next category, travel. What is the best vacation you've ever taken? Where did you go?
Ooh. So my family and I, many years ago, we had an opportunity to travel to Egypt. And I would say that was one of the most beautiful history rich places I've ever been. It looks just like the pictures. And sometimes, when you go on vacations or when you see something in person that, it doesn't live up to the pictures, that one did. So that was a great experience.
Nice. What is your favorite Maryland bar or restaurant?
I would probably say, Lito's Pizza. It's more casual, but I'm a sucker for Lito's.
Great pizza.
Yeah.
What toppings do you like, if any?
Black olives and onions.
Black olives and
onions.
Okay. All right. Totally black olives. Yeah. On that. What is a new favorite place that you've discovered in Maryland that you didn't know about before, that you've sort of seen on the campaign trail now?
Ooh. Let's see. The Founding Farmers is a relative. It's been around forever, but I've never really had a chance to eat there or have some good breakfast there. And I've started to, and it's amazing. It's
not a restaurant. So a sightseeing venue, a city, a town, something else that you had never visited before.
In Kent County, they have a great dog beach, which is a new discovery when I was kind of visiting, and meeting some people there. They told me about this. I decided to bring my dog one day, and it's beautiful. It's right by the Chesapeake Bay, right by the bridge. And it's amazing. Yeah. And it's one of the few places I've seen where they allow dogs on the beach.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Love it. Okay. If neither COVID nor money were an object and you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you want to go?
I would probably say Machu Picchu. It's always been on my bucket list. I've had a couple opportunities that just didn't pan out. And so I feel like that would be something that I would love to do one day.
And what about it intrigues you?
One, the history. Two, just the visual aspects of it. The fact that you can experience hiking in addition to just enjoying nature, as well as, these ruins. But I think more sentimentally, it was a trip that I had scheduled like a month before I was diagnosed with cancer in 2003. And so we were really excited about it. It was probably one of the most hyped up trips that I had. And it got canceled because then I had to go through my health challenges. And I've never been able to reschedule it since.
Well, A, we're so happy that you're healthy. And B, you should schedule it. You just never know, right?
That's true. That's very true.
Yep. Yeah. All right. What is something you always bring with you when you travel?
Other than my phone and my grandmother's rosary beads, my laptop, a water bottle. It's pretty basic, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Shifting to social media. Mm-hmm. What percentage of Facebook posts or tweets do you write versus staff or others?
So I'm big on social media. Everything is 100% from me. I'll have my team kind of help me create graphics or, help me kind of rewrite some of the actual posts, but everything that I post is from me.
There you go. And which outlet do you like the best and why?
It depends upon the audience, to be honest, right? If I'm trying to reach out to an older demographic, I usually use Facebook. If I try to reach out to a younger demographic, specifically high school, college, I use Instagram. And then TikTok, I'm just getting into for a lot of my younger volunteers. But I'm still learning.
Okay. All right. How long have you been on? Did it come to you naturally, or did you have to be dragged into any of that?
With TikTok, you're talking about?
With any of them.
Oh, Facebook, I started when I was in high school and it first came out. And then Instagram, probably, in college, or again, as soon as these things come out, I usually try to hop on. TikTok, though, probably just in the last like 3-4 months.
Okay.
So that one's been the hardest thing for me to get, which it's a lot of fun. I like to watch a lot of TikTok videos.
Yeah.
But in being able to create your own content, I think it's a little bit more of a learning curve.
Yeah, I haven't gone to that yet, and I have to draw the line somewhere. Yeah. Sarah Cooper was cool, but I don't know about the others.
Yeah.
All right, we're shifting now to politics. Right. You might have never thought we'd get there, but
yeah.
Let's start with a really basic question. Mm-hmm. Why are you a Democrat?
Because we believe in equality of opportunity. At the end of the day, we believe that everyone deserves the same rights. We believe that everyone deserves the same chances to live a successful and healthy life. And we try our best to accomplish that.
Great. Any time that you have wondered or regretted or had major disagreements with the party or a leader?
Not necessarily, yes and no, not necessarily on issues, but I have seen sometimes a disconnect with this idea of, hey, we need more younger and diverse people to get involved in politics. But then I've also seen that whenever people like me try to actually step up, take leadership roles, we're told that we're too ambitious, we don't have enough experience, unless it's to get certain people elected. So I think that mentality maybe even goes beyond, Democrats, but it is something that I've kind of seen as a constant presence.
When did you first think about running for office? Not necessarily this office, but any office.
I would probably say it was toward the end of President Obama's second term. So I was still working in the administration in the White House. The term was coming to an end, and we had a huge staff meeting with the president, and we were just thinking about like, what do we do next, right? And he was just talking to us casually saying, hey, make sure to continue to stay involved if this is your passion. You've done a lot of great work. Figure out other ways to get involved outside of the administration as well. And one of those ways is to even run for office. And don't think that, you're not qualified enough, because if you're passionate, you should make your voice heard. And so I think that was probably the first serious moment I said, oh, that's a possibility.
Cool. Amen to that.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 100, 1 being the very, very, very most right-wing conservative, 100 being the very, very, very most left-wing liberal, where do you fall? What number would you assign your own ideology?
I mean, at least 90. But I also sometimes think there's a false choice, because at the end of the day, what I've experienced and seen, whether on the campaign trail or otherwise, and I know you've experienced this just being the leader that you are, the core commonality of what people are concerned about often is very similar, right? People just want to feel like somebody has their back, that they're being respected, and that they have a seat at the table. And I've seen that with the ones, and I've seen that with the hundreds.
Yeah.
And, I've been able so far to kind of thread the needle and balance, because it's genuine to who I am. I think the more specific and transparent you are, and the more opportunities you give people to, have a seat at the table, you're able to bring, and build some bridges. Yes, there are some ones and people kind of in that category who don't even agree on basic facts. Right. That's a little difficult to get over, but I think there is sometimes a false choice. You don't have to just be one or the other, because at the end of the day, not to sound cheesy, but there is a lot more that unites us than divides us, and it's being genuine to that.
Great. Who is a shiro or hero of yours? Or you can say more than one if you like, living or dead.
My mother, I think that's probably the first person I think of, just because of everything that she is and her personal story, the values that she's instilled in me. She's had the most impact in my life. I mean, people, and again, I don't want to sound cliche, because I feel like a lot of people say this, but like, people like a Michelle Obama, someone who's, again, experienced a lot, accomplished a lot, but then also created a platform for a lot of people to kind of, get through that door of opportunity. So it kind of ranges, but those are the first two I think that comes to mind.
Great. You referenced your mother's story. Why don't you share that with us for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. My mother immigrated to this country from India with her father, my grandfather, my grandmother. When they first came to this country, they had limited resources. My grandfather worked as a high school janitor and maintenance worker to provide for his family. My mother was able to go to a community college, and she actually worked at a nursing home where she made the minimum wage just to pay for classes. And I think it was through that experience and through those values where luckily it meshed well with my father, who also had some, similar struggles. He was highly educated in India, but struggled to find work because of the language barrier when he moved here. But when they got married, they moved to Maryland, they started a business, and they took those values and their struggles and not only tried to ensure that my sister and I did not have those same struggles, but really showed us the importance of hard work, of good luck, of community development, and showing us where they came from and not wasting those opportunities.
That's great. You've referred to the family business a couple of times. What is the family business?
So my parents are jewelers. They wholesale and manufacture jewelry, and my sister got into business as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. A go-to place here if you're looking for an engagement ring, I'm betting, or something. Take 1 minute, please, and give a pitch for a nonprofit organization that you support personally.
Well, I work at the National Kidney Foundation. That's my full-time job. I'm the program director. But outside of that, another group is called the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's a nonprofit that I've been obviously very involved with as a former Make-A-Wish kid. I got to meet Denzel Washington. There's a picture behind me. But they're an organization.
That was your wish?
That was my wish. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. But essentially what they do is, if you are anyone between the ages of 2 and 18 going through some sort of, chronic illness like cancer, they will give you an opportunity to grant a wish, whether it's to meet someone, go somewhere, have something. And I've been a Make-A-Wish ambassador, for about 15 years now, and being able to help local kids in Maryland who are going through something similar, and then share my experience, and then also help them kind of forget about their pain and show them that, there is a better life outside of this.
That's amazing. Tell me why you picked Denzel Washington, and tell us just briefly how that went. Did he come to you, or I assume, and how much time did you get with him?
Yeah, I mean, he was a famous actor that I knew I couldn't have met any other way. He did a couple of movies, Remember the Titans, and specifically John Q, which is a movie about him understanding the healthcare challenges of our society. I related to that. I connected with it. So I said, I would love to meet him. He was doing a Broadway show actually in New York, Julius Caesar. And so Make-A-Wish, flew out my family. We got to see the show and then got backstage tickets to just see him in his dressing room. And we all chatted for about 20 minutes.
Nice.
And he was super humble, super kind. And it was in that moment I said, hey, I'm getting my wish, accomplished and granted, but this is the first time I'm providing something positive with my family. Because up to that point, I had felt a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
And so that was actually the turning point where I said, okay, I want to go into community service in some aspect and kind of replicate that feeling of joy with more families and kids who, also go through something tragic.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Just a few quick questions, and you're doing great on time. I keep looking at my timer because I want to be super fair to everybody.
Absolutely.
If a windfall of money came from the federal government and you were governor and you were the only person who was the decider, you had a magic wand, what would you spend it on? How would you prioritize?
Probably to fund more of one of my biggest policy proposals, which is the Maryland Now plan. So it's eliminating the state income tax for 95% of Maryland workers. It guarantees jobs to everyone in the state who needs a job, guarantees free public transit. And then it also imposes specific anti-corruption measures while legalizing marijuana and expunging the records of those who have been in prison. So it's a lot, but it is a multi-pronged approach. And even though my plan is fully funded, obviously a federal government fund would be even better.
Okay. The one question that I have asked everyone on my podcast, Ashwani Jain, what is your one secret superpower? What is something you're really good at that most folks can't do?
I would like to think it's my empathy and the perspective that I bring to conversations that I have.
Lovely. That's great. Okay. So there is 1 minute and 51 seconds left, which is awesome. Is there anything that I didn't ask you, anything we didn't cover? The floor is yours.
No, I mean, I really appreciate the opportunity. Obviously, I would be a bad candidate if I didn't ask people to go to my website, janeforgovernor.com. I have full details on everything that I'm running for, why I'm running, all the policies that I have, and also ways that people can get involved. So it's janeforgovernor.com. And I want to have more conversations like this.
Good. And we're going to post a slide at the end of the Kibitz with all of your social media so they can check you out all over the place. Why don't, since we do still have a little bit left, how are you going to win the Democratic primary? How are you going to win the general election to become Maryland's next governor?
It's by reaching out to every single county. We already have over 320 volunteers, as young as middle schoolers, all the way to those that are retired. And we cover every single county in the state. So it's making sure that we're increasing our volunteer pool and me just getting out there and having more conversations.
Fantastic. Well, Ashwani Jain, this was a delight. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to kibitz and to let me ask such a broad range of fun and personal questions. I think that Maryland voters and Maryland Democrats are going to be interested to learn more about you through this program and along the campaign trail. So I wish you the best personally and professionally in all things. And thank you again for taking the time. Stay well.
Of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.